Nikhil Mathur and Athira Sashidharan. Nikhil, let's start with you. Where were you? It's one of those moments where, you remember where you were when it happened. So where were you and what were you doing?
Actually, I was at home and I had almost the stream was on, but I wasn't watching it because it was heading for a draw. I was watching Viswanathan Anand and one of the streams, he said that Gukesh has a chance of 0.27% of winning chance. So I thought, this is going for a draw, and suddenly I realized that everyone in the stream got up and I was like, what has happened? Gukesh blundered and within seconds, he lost the game. And in fact, the emotion that Gukesh showed were I watched the entire stream again, and Gukesh, firstly he was like this, and then it also took him a minute to realize what has happened, and then he was kind of smiling with his fingers on his mouth, and then he stood back, came back, and then it actually hit him, and then he went on a roller coaster of emotion. For the first time it felt like that he is an 18-year-old. Otherwise he had been stoic, hadn't let the emotions take better of him, but at that time he let it all rip.
Yeah, I think Athira and I were in office at the time and we were following it, but it all happened so quickly. I think no one was expecting Ding to make that blunder, but that's what happened, and once he did, it was only a matter of time. So Athira, tell us, and also let's talk about the journey. We talk about this going forward, but how big of an achievement is this for India and Gukesh himself?
It is, I think, it surely ranks in the top 5 in greatest sporting achievements. We can rank it in top 5.
Of course.
And I think it's how on 14 games, he started off with a loss and then he just bounced back. I mean, which is absolutely stunning. And then, Nikhil was saying,
I would love to be called Gukesh. I don't mind that. I'll be
today you won't mind. But as Nikhil was saying, that yesterday when Ding made that error, you could see Gukesh just going his hands shivering, and he just couldn't believe it. And it was just a moment that I think all the Indians will cherish for a really long time.
That's actually a good point. If you see that visual, Gukesh, he almost takes a moment to realize what has actually happened, that he is going to win the World Championship. And just to put things into perspective, he's 18 years old. It just makes you feel a little old firstly. But also when he was talking in his press conference about how he was just 7 or 8 years old when Magnus Carlsen won his first World Championship title, just his achievement and the magnitude of his achievement, it's something to just sit back and take notice. So of course we're also going to be discussing where this ranks, as Athira said. So everyone will have their own opinion. India has had a few great sporting triumphs, but Nikhil, if you had to make a list, what would be your list? Where does this rank?
I think in modern world, if I have to put, I think the top 2 would be Neeraj Chopra and Domaraju Gukesh, top athletes dominating their field. Gukesh became the 18th world champion. He's 18-year-old. He joined the likes of Magnus Carlsen, Viswanathan Anand, Bobby Fischer, but none of them were teenagers when they won it. So you have to count it. And what an year it has been. I was just reading, so he wasn't able to qualify for the candidates. He needed one tournament, and then the Chennai Grandmaster happened in 2023. He won it. He was the 3rd seed. He won it. Then he did well and got a chance in candidate. Then he won the candidates. So if you look at the year, youngest to win the candidates, won a gold, individual gold and a team gold at Chess Olympiad, and then the crowning moment, conquering the world by winning the World Championship. So it has been a stellar year. And as you said, 18-year-old. I mean, it's
clutch performances, by the way. Even to let's tell our viewers, for those who are unversed, that you have to qualify for the candidates. Candidates is the tournament that decides who will challenge the world champion in chess. So Gukesh barely made it to the candidates tournament. He had to win the Chennai Grandmasters, as Nikhil said, but he coasted. He was coasted to victory in the candidates tournament against a stellar field.
It had Hikaru, it had Caruana, and that was also going into a tie break. In fact, I remember, I think it was overnight, so we thought that it might go to tie break, and we were all asleep, and then suddenly those visuals of Gukesh coming out of the car.
Absolutely. And some people, just want to make this point, some people, not a tiny minority like former world champions, are trying to sort of paint another picture of this world championship and sort of take away from the glory from D Gukesh, but that should not be the case at all. He is the undisputed world champion of chess, and nothing anyone says or does can take away from the fact that Gukesh is the youngest chess world champion ever. So Athira, we've been following this series throughout. First let's ask you about your top 5. Where do you think, like, what is your top 5, or just mention some of the great triumphs? For example, India winning the 1983 World Cup.
I think it will be World Cup, Neeraj, and then Gukesh for me. What about you?
I think, well, again, I don't have like a definitive list, because this is, of course, everyone has their own opinion. Cricket, I think cricket should be kept out of this, to be honest with you. As we have discussed earlier, that, cricket is a sport which is played by, 15 odd nations. Chess, again to reiterate, it's a global sport. Probably every country in the world, someone plays chess or does have a proper chess player. So, to have an Indian, 18-year-old Indian, to win a world championship in a global sport is almost, I think, you can also count on the number of fingers the number of world champions we have, by the way. India does not have many world champions. Yeah. Neeraj Chopra is one, Mirabai Chanu was one in weightlifting, but India does not have many world champions. So just the fact that, also, again, a shout out to Viswanathan Anand, by the way, to create this entire, his legacy is almost unparalleled in, I would say, Indian sport. Yeah. Because for a country which had no history in chess, he became world champion, and five-time world champion. On the trot, and then it's all like, Kasparov rightly calls them Vishy's children. And that's what they are. I mean, this is it started with him. And we've already spoken about the chess journey, etc., etc. But, it's really down to Viswanathan Anand. And that is why, the reason why I'm saying this is, I think still that is India's greatest. Viswanathan Anand winning the first world championship when he did is India's greatest sporting talent.
And on that point, what motivated Gukesh to become the world champion, in fact, he was there in Chennai in 2013 when Magnus Carlsen defeated Viswanathan Anand. Viswanathan Anand had won 4 straight titles, and then Magnus defeated him. Gukesh, as a boy, was there watching through the window. He was in Chennai, and he said, I will be the person who brings back that title to India. So life has come a full circle for him. And of course, this video of Gukesh with about 11-year-old, where he was speaking to Chess Base India, and he said, I want to become the youngest world champion. And then he has achieved that dream. So, I mean, a man of his word, certainly prophetic, whatever he says.
I think that moment when he won this, and then he was just right there crying. I think that moment, that was
extremely emotional. I mean, it was just, it was just as Nikhil has written about it. It was raw. Raw and unfiltered. It's rare that you see.
Yeah, because you don't see chess players showing a lot of emotion. I would be like, oh my God, that's a very bad move, and I would be very expressive. But Gukesh, he was like this, sitting like this and closing his eyes, and this was his position. Yeah. But for that moment, he knew that he had won it, and I don't think it was any planned or something. I remember they had a planned celebration when they won the Chess Olympiad, where they tried to copy the Messi dance, and they did it. But this time it was pure, raw, unfiltered emotion. He, in fact, did not know what to do. He smiled, he laughed, he cried, and then towards the end, a subtle, he had his arms aloft, and then he enjoyed. And a couple of moments, and then he went and hugged his father. That was also a proper reel moment, as they call it. The reels are going viral. Then he spoke to his mother for like 2-3 minutes, and then he revealed his team. This was a very well kept secret. We did not know who his team was, and then finally he revealed the Avengers assembled. Three of the guys were in Spain, to calculate the time difference. So when Gukesh and Gairu, who was the second, they were sleeping in Singapore, the other team was working in Spain. And in fact, Vishy Anand, he was in touch with Vishy Anand as well. And one quote that he said in the press conference was that when he lost the first match, and then he said that was the biggest setback, because he hadn't anticipated that he would lose the first match.
He was nervous.
So then he said, Vishy sir just told me one thing in the lift. He said, I just had 11 games, you had 13. And he said that kind of turned, okay, he had only 11 games, I have 13. That's such a simple quote, but it motivated Gukesh so much. And whether you interviewed Paddy Upton, Gukesh also mentioned him. He said that he couldn't sleep, and then he spoke to Paddy again, and he was able to sleep properly for the last 2 matches. What were some insights that Paddy gave you?
Well, Paddy basically said that Gukesh is completely ready for the World Championship. When I spoke to him, he said that Gukesh is a big match player, like who? Like Virat Kohli. So he's a big game player and he has that mentality. So Paddy Upton was very, very confident that Gukesh is in the best position to compete for the World Championship. And of course, Paddy Upton himself is a seasoned, mental conditioning coach. So, and I asked him what change he does in his approach when he's, helping cricketers or chess players. So he told me that when chess, it's all mental. So your preparation and everything, his approach also changes because the skill set that he is working with is all mental. And he said Gukesh is absolutely in the best position to excel at that. So that's what, obviously he's an 18-year-old. So I think that first game, there was a bit, but once he settled down, I mean, obviously there were a few games where he could have done slightly better, he says so himself. But he was the aggressor throughout the series. So he was the one who wanted the win. So that shows that he's brave and courageous.
Exactly. And that's what is the difference between Ding Liren and D Gukesh. Ding offered him draw, twice? He refused.
Yeah.
He could have taken a draw in this match also and none of us would have said anything because it was going for a draw. But that spirit that I will never give. I love playing chess and I will keep on going. And exactly it came down to that. Gukesh could have just shaken hands with Ding and they could have settled for a draw and we would have been into tie breaks. But he went on and on and on. So never say die spirit. I think that is what the difference is. And also it has been a journey for all of us. None of us know how to play chess properly. Our ELO would be somewhere around 100, 200.
My rating would be negative.
I think, mine would be
but it has been a journey. I think Athira, you and we all were watching the stream. We understand the basic and then we were all following it. So that is what chess has done. In fact, I always retreat this point. You can see the growth of a sport in a country by what the parents are telling their children to do. Usually it has always been the bat and ball, become a cricketer. But in fact, many of us, some of our producers, their kids are playing really well. They take off and then they take their children to play these tournaments. And that is what is happening. So this, I think, is the golden generation of chess. And chess is now one of the...
It's a mainstream sport, which wasn't the case before. It's like cricket or football or anything else.
Because I think a lot of thing has to also go to that coronavirus lockdown because that also helped chess become the online chess. It was a boom for the chess.
Just like so many streamers, they were doing the World Championship streams. It's like a event. It's like a party event almost that you sit down and watch chess. So it's the activity, the whole activity, not just chess. The activities around it are also increasing. So it's becoming like a community activity, which who would have thought chess would become that a few years back. So it's really something remarkable. Just one thing I would like to point out about coming back to Gukesh. Just listening to his press conference, he has remarkable maturity as a person for an 18-year-old. The way he conducted himself after winning that championship, the first thing he did was congratulated Ding Liren and how he admired him and had huge respect for him, and the way he was answering those questions, and just the relaxed way it was really remarkable. And I think that he completely deserves this triumph. This year, he's the Indian sports person of the year without a doubt. I think there is no doubt about that. We are discussing India's greatest sporting triumph. You can have an opinion on that. But this year, it belongs to Domaraju Gukesh for winning the Chess World Championship. And of course,
and of course, it's the golden generation. If you see, not just D Gukesh, Pragnananda was a finalist in the World Cup. Then they won the candidates. And Arjun Eregaisi, who is still competing in Qatar, I think he finished joint first or second. He can be a potential world challenger to Gukesh. And what that feeling would be, two Indians fighting it for the title. If Arjun Eregaisi somehow, there's a World Blitz Championship coming up, and if Arjun finishes joint first, he could lead the FIDE ratings and be the challenger to Gukesh. So Arjun Eregaisi versus D Gukesh, two Indians fighting for the World Chess Championship title. That could be a possibility in 2 years.
Gukesh was actually asked that question, who does he want to face in the press conference? He was like, I just want to enjoy this moment. I'm not thinking about that. 2 years is a long time. But again, this is a historic triumph and one that will be celebrated for days to come. And this is a celebration not just for Indian chess, for Indian sport, and also for the country. As you know, we saw the plaudits that Gukesh has been taking. Narendra Modi congratulated him, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and of course Viswanathan Anand himself, his tweet, as we were discussing just a while back, the boy who became thing. I think that is the perfect way to encapsulate what Gukesh has achieved. And that's all on WION World of Sport Extra. We will continue to cover Gukesh's celebrations, if we can call it that. And of course, it is the year of Domaraju Gukesh. That's all for now. Thank you for watching.